Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Now, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. With you tuning in on the radio dial here in Mississippi, we welcome you all back to our program. Also, those joining us through our online affiliates around the world, including our iHeartRadio family. We're glad to have all of you with us as well. We're excited to welcome Jim and Jamie Dutcher to our program today. They have written a fascinating new book that I think can teach us not so much not only about the wolves that they're able to cover, but also about ourselves as well. The book is called The Wisdom of Wolves, Lessons from the Sawtooth Pack. We're going to talk to the two of them, not only about the writing of the book, but also the work they've been able to do, the conversations they've been able to have, and what they hope you're able to take away from it. Jim, Jamie, hello to you, and welcome to the program.
Thank you, Cyrus. It's great to be with you.
Well, the pleasure's definitely all mine. And Jamie, I'll start with you. I mean, what has it been like for you already to see the way that people are not only responding to the book, The Wisdom of Wolves, but the great lessons that you're sharing in the book as well?
Well, it's been tremendously rewarding. Jim and I had such a great opportunity, living with the Sawtooth Pack for 6 years, and for these wolves to open up their lives to us, so we could really see what they were all about, and then to be able to bring these stories and share them with the public are tremendous. Wolf families are so similar to our own, and they have the capacity for empathy, and they need to belong to a family. And every member of the pack holds a unique position and is important to the pack. And their experiences and their emotions are actually quite similar to our own. And I think it gives people a chance to maybe realize our reconnection with the natural world and how we're all not so different.
Right. Jamie brings up a really good point, and one of the things that I took away from the book, and again, we're going to let our audience know how they can get their own copy, but one of the things that you all share in this book, of course, are the real human lessons that all of us can be able to learn. One of them is to be able to lead with kindness. Kindness is something that does not always happen when it comes to other human beings, but especially when it comes to animals. Do you hope that one thing that comes from this, Jim, is that people better understand not only wolves, but also our connection to wildlife?
Well, yes. Watching the Sawtooth Pack as we did and camped with them for those 6 years, we were able to get into the pack and see how the alpha, the leader of the pack, treated all the other wolves in his family, and how he was the first one to educate the younger pups, and it was a kind of a wonderful relationship that I had with this wolf. I could actually walk along in his home, and he would come up and kind of look at me, and at one point he actually put his paw up to me, and I considered Kamatz, the leader of the pack, really the leader of the whole project. I was in charge of our very tiny film crew, but he was in charge of the wolves, and it was him that I look for the success of the whole project.
Right.
Go ahead.
And I was just going to say, I mean, to tie along with that, I think one of the big things that I took away when I was prepping for this segment, Jim, and Jamie, if you'd like to chime in, feel free, is that, remembering the respect that we have to have. And it kind of goes to what you just said, Jim, because one of the things that I heard you guys say in an interview is that remember that they're not your pets. I mean, that you all are kind of, you're sharing the world together. Has that been an important thing for the two of you to be able to remind people not to look at these animals as beautiful as they might be, as much as we can learn from them, not to look at it as something that we can own?
Absolutely. They're part of the natural world, and we need to remember that. And I think this book gives people an opportunity to reflect on attributes that we admire in our in other human beings, but they're also attributes to be admired in wolves and some other animals as well. And through looking at wolves through the lens of our own human understanding, really allows us to open up to that and see them for what they are, and to be respected and revered, and maybe perhaps for us to become better people by picking up on some of those attributes that we've lost.
one of the things we noticed with the pack is how they cared for each other, and one member of the pack got killed by a mountain lion. And that's, we were really out there in the wilderness, and this lion killed this wolf, and what was so spectacular or touching about the whole situation was how it impacted the rest of the pack. Wolves play. Any researcher watching a pack of wolves will see that almost every hour there's some sort of play. They play tag. They chase each other around. They stopped playing for 6 weeks. Every time I would walk through the area where the mountain lion had killed this omega wolf, they would become visibly sad. Their tails would go down, their ears would go back, and they would mope around, and they howled differently. They usually would howl as a group, and it was very much full of energy. But after the death of this wolf, they howled separately over and over again, kind of like calling her back.
They were mourning.
Right.
They were clearly mourning.
Yeah.
Right. I'm so glad you mentioned that. And you and I had not discussed this. We had not discussed this previously. But there was one thing that I did want to read from the book, and it had to do with exactly what you just mentioned, Jim, and that is about playing, because I think that's a great lesson for all of us, especially us adults. You all write this in the book. As the wolves of the Sawtooth Pack grew from pups to adults to older wolves, their appetite for play never diminished. In fact, I'm sure that just like pups, adult wolves play for the sheer joy of it. But there's a lot going on in a little game of tag. For animals that live and hunt as a group, a solid foundation of trust and cooperation is crucial. A wolf pack succeeds or fails as one. Do you think that unity is another thing, and either one of you can chime in on this, that we can learn from each other? The fact that no matter what the age, the importance of working together, playing together, how that helped to keep them strong together.
Absolutely. That's what we're trying to convey to people, that there's so many lessons that we know but we've forgotten, and to be able to play, to be able to cooperate, to be united together is just so important. The way that wolves care for their youngsters, whether related or not, the way they respect and care for their elder members is tremendous, and we tend to diminish an older population. And these are qualities which are incredible attributes in wolves, but they're also good qualities in human beings as well. But we tend to get away from that. We get lost in that, in the hustle and bustle of everyday life, and just trying to get on with it. We forget about being better people.
Right. Jim, there's something else that was mentioned about loss. You mentioned, of course, about how they reacted when there was a death. Another thing that was written in the book when it comes to that point is this: when you look at wolves only as vermin or as identification numbers, nothing can explain his behavior. Talking about a wolf that had lost, of course, its mate. You go on to talk about though the bonding that had taken place between them, and I couldn't help but think about couples that you hear about, especially when they've lost one of the other, how they're affected by that. Is that also the humanizing that you hope readers of this book take away? The fact that we have to look at these animals as more than just something, a sport or something, to be able to hunt, but actually think about them and what they're dealing with in life as well.
Yes. What you're talking about is a pair of wolves up in Alaska in Denali that the female stepped in a trap, and she was held there for 2 weeks before the hunter showed up to kill her. The trap doesn't kill the wolf. It's the hunter that has to come along and finally do this. All during that time, its mate sat by his side, probably brought food to her. And when the hunter showed up, he ran off into the forest, but he stayed right there. And it was tragic, because then he ran all the way back to where their den site was, for some 14, 15 miles away, and it frantically dug it out, cleaned it out for spring for a litter of pups he would never deliver. We see this kind of thing over and over with wolves in Yellowstone, and how they care about each other. The family is everything to a wolf, and the story about the lone wolf. Well, that's just a wolf looking for another wolf. They do leave the pack. One pack will have a disperser that goes out and searches for another wolf. Well, what they're really looking for is another wolf, and stop being a lone wolf. Family is everything.
Okay, well, I think that's the big thing. I want to say for those who are just tuning in either on the radio side or online, you're listening to Conversations Live. We're excited to welcome Jim and Jamie Dutcher to our program today. They have done amazing work not only as filmmakers and authors, but in their new book called The Wisdom of Wolves, Lessons from the Sawtooth Pack. It's available now through our friends at Amazon.com or through your favorite bookstore. So, Jamie, I want to talk about the why. Why has this been work that you all have been so passionate about, and why do you hope people read this book and really take it in?
Well, we started off as wildlife filmmakers, and after several films that we had done on the Sawtooth Pack and had started writing some books, we were asked to move on by Discovery Channel or National Geographic if we could do another subject, and we couldn't leave the wolves. The wolves had given us so much personally, had taught us so much, and there was still such a tremendous misunderstanding about them that it just didn't seem the right thing to do to just abandon them. So we started a nonprofit called Living with Wolves, dedicated to educational outreach, and we go around the world and talk to people about wolves, and we sponsor research, and it really then allowed us to be able to sit down and write a book like this that was so incredibly personal and so close to our hearts, to motivate people to understand and celebrate the attributes of the wolf, and then be able to help protect this complex, highly social animal that we are so fortunate to have in North America. And I think we often forget that. This is the most intelligent, cooperative, emotional animal that we have in North America, besides ourselves. And we often forget that. And we often forget that about the wolf living next to us, by our side, the domestic dog. All dogs came from wolves. So when we look at our dogs and see their emotional lives, they mirror the lives of wolves as well.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's a powerful book, and the work that you all do, I think, is not only necessary, but I think it's a great reminder for us all as to not only how we're able to treat animals, but also how we treat ourselves. And I think that's why the newest book, The Wisdom of Wolves, gives us such great insight. Again, Jim and Jamie Dutcher have been our guests. Great conversation with the two of you. Thank you so much for the time. As I mentioned, the book's available now through our friends at Amazon.com or through our audience favorite bookstore. How can they stay connected with you and the work that you all are doing, including with your foundation?
We welcome everybody to visit our website, livingwithwolves.org. Living with Wolves is also on Facebook and Twitter, and we invite everyone to come check it out and sign up and join us, because wolves need a lot of friends, so they need all the help they can get. So we appreciate everybody and everything.
Well, thank you all again, and looking forward to our next conversation together.
Great, thanks you, Cyrus.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying, as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Make sure you take out time to enjoy some good music as well as a great book. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live today. You all make it a great one.